Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show, a podcast devoted to helping you take your message, your business, and your life to the next level. This, my friends, is episode number 482, and I'm your host, Cliff Ravenscraft, the podcast answer man. And quite honestly, my friends, this is like the fourth time I've hit the record button. I've deleted the three other previous attempts. And I think you would thank me for it if you actually heard the original ones. Although some of you, I know you would love to hear, anything that I would be sharing. But I found that I was starting to ramble a little bit more than usual. And so I just deleted that most recent attempt. And what I'm going to share with you here today is a less rambly, but still random topic episode of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. Many of you know, for me personally, if you've been following me for years, you know that I happen to be one of those people who sometimes experience that seasonal blues. Right between the time of Thanksgiving and Christmas, I've had a history of, I wouldn't say full-on depression, although I have had that at least twice in the past 10 years. Not needing medication or anything like that, but just really, dark times. I've shared that openly in the past. This past month has been, it's been sluggish for me personally, emotionally, for no good reason. I have no reason whatsoever. Although, I think maybe after losing my biological dad not too long ago, and some unresolved stuff there, I found myself thinking about him and how things might have been or could have been and stuff like that around, there's a lot of that stuff plus some other things. But other than that, I've got so many things to be thankful for, so many things that are blessings in my life, things that just are going right. I've got a future possibilities that are just incredible. And God has taken care of me and provided for every need that I have and even well beyond that. And so, but just to say this, that I've had a little bit of a sluggish December myself personally, but I'm very thankful that while having some downtime, maybe working a little later at night because I actually let myself sleep in too much during the day, I found that I was able to stay on target when it comes to the most important things. And the most important things in my business have been these past few weeks staying on target with creating newsletter content for the weekly podcast development newsletter, which is going great, by the way. I just finished writing a little earlier tonight. I wrote the 8th edition of the podcast newsletter, which is all about reducing or eliminating echo in your recording studio. So if you guys have not heard about the podcast newsletter, head over to podcastanswerman.com/newsletter. There's a little video there, very short video of me explaining what it is, and you can sign up right there, podcastanswerman.com/newsletter. But anyway, I've been staying on top of that. I've also been staying on top of this podcast. In fact, this episode is the fulfillment of a promise for new podcast episodes every Friday by 5 a.m. in 2016. So back in January, I promised you every single week by Friday morning at 5 a.m., you'll have a new episode of this podcast. And I did that. I accomplished that. I lived up to that for you guys and for me. I just put it out there. It helps me in my business when I'm consistent. I'm there, staying top of mind. All of those things are important. And I'm asking myself, do I repeat this goal/commitment for 2017? And I'm not ready to tell you right now whether or not that's the case. There's a part of me that wonders if I don't make a public pronouncement and commitment, or even personally make one, I wonder if I would end up going back to, sometimes the episode comes out on Friday morning, sometimes it's coming out on Saturday or Sunday. Maybe it might push all the way back to Monday, but then it's so close to Friday. Why don't I just, I wonder if I get back into that routine, and I don't want that to happen. I had a great conversation with some friends talking about whether or not consistency for consistency's sake, is that a bad thing? One friend of mine said that I particularly think it's better to have no episode than to put a crap episode out there just for the sake of living up to a commitment. And I definitely would agree with that statement. I definitely think that I have different expectations and different standards of what I would consider to be technically a crap episode, if you will. I know that this particular person is always looking for valuable takeaways, and I think even when sharing a story, for example, the first 5 minutes of this episode, I talked a little bit very openly, authentically about the fact that, hey, I've experienced some, seasonal affective blues, if you will. I've been a little bit down in the dumps emotionally, and I think that there's some valuable takeaway from that. And in fact, I think it's a valuable takeaway to think, wow, in spite of that, Cliff still made the decision to move forward, and that's because of commitments. And see, commitments for me are huge. If it weren't for a commitment, I'm going to put out a podcast or a newsletter update every single Friday morning. And if I didn't say that, and by the way, there are currently 1,703 people who are getting an email every Friday from me, and they're looking forward to it. And so that's 1,703 people who are saying, every week, I want an email every week from you, Cliff. I want to hear from you in my email inbox. Whereas before I started doing that, my emails were just marketing, podcasting A to Z every 4 to 6 weeks, and just a bunch of marketing emails. And it just wasn't the people weren't always used to getting content from me, and so open rates weren't all that great back then. It's better than industry average still, but still, this whole idea of being consistent for consistent sake for the newsletter has been great. And of course, I think what happens is, I am sometimes putting an episode out for the sole purpose of the fact that I need to put an episode out. But I believe that I always maintain a standard of quality that needs that the content needs to live up to. I'm not going to release a email update that isn't a valuable, actionable tip or advice that's well thought out and well communicated. That's not going to happen. And when it comes to this podcast, the thing is I may put out an episode where I'm not necessarily giving you, here are 5 tips that you can do and take these 5 principles and apply them to your business. I will have some of those episodes. And yes, there's no doubt in my mind that some episodes of this podcast or any other podcast that I produce are going to be better than others, in my own mind and the mind of each and every one of you as well. But the question I always ask myself is this content something where at the end of the episode, will the average listener to my show think to themselves, wow, I'm glad I listened to that episode? And there are some times when I'll get into an episode and I'll ramble and I'll just start talking and I'll share something from my heart, and it's not necessarily a big, huge, I planned out all the takeaways that I'm going to, basically pre-digest for you and put on a plate for you to for your easy consumption. But instead, there are some times when I put an episode out where I'm like, I wonder where the value is in this episode. And those episodes by far generate the greatest amount of feedback. The ones that I kind of feel like, I don't know that I performed all that well for, up to a level of value-packed content. But there have, by just sharing what's on my heart, something that I'm passionate about, communicating something that is important to me, and just sharing authentically, people are emailing me saying, wow, this is what I took away from that episode. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I was hoping, that somebody would get that. But sometimes you just put out content just because you have to put out content. But I do agree that it is better to have no episode than to have crap episode. But I think it's better to have a not perfect episode a not your best episode, but still have an episode where the majority, the average member of your community, they would be happy that they listened to your voice. And that's the other thing that's interesting. There are different reasons people listen to different podcasts. Some people tune into podcasts because they have a pen and a piece of paper in hand, and they're ready to take notes because they know they're going to learn strategies. They're going to learn steps. They're going to have tips and actionable items that they can go and apply to their business, to their practice, to their this, to their that. They're going to have step-by-step instructions to complete something that they've been wanting to do. That they tune in because they're looking for that kind of return on investment for their time. And you know what? This show, I believe, does deliver on that a lot of the time. But then there are shows that people listen to for a familiar voice. There are shows that people listen to for a source of encouragement, somebody who has a worldview or a way of thinking, a positive mindset that's just influential and what is the other word that I'm thinking? That's contagious. They have such a positivity about them. I mean, and for me, I know that that's what my show is to a lot of people. And there are other podcasts out there that I listen to that are for that reason. I listen to my friend Father Roderick Von Hogan for... it's just, he's a familiar voice that I've listened to every week and sometimes several episodes of different shows that he produced every week for 10 years. He's a familiar voice in my life. I listen to my friend Ray Edwards every week because he's a familiar voice. I love the actionable tips and advice that I get from Ray's podcast. And there have been some times when I've actually said, you know what, I can't delete this one. I want to go back and listen to it again and take notes. And there have been times when I'm like, hey, Ray, a long time ago, I heard you say this, and now I find the need for that information. Can you share it? And in fact, one of those was recently we were talking about, I had Ray on the podcast here, and we talked about the 5 phases of building a business or whatever. It was a couple weeks ago. You can find that in the archives there. But for the most part, I don't listen to Ray for that. I listen to him for his mindset, his positivity. I listen to him because of his faith as well. I'm encouraged in my faith when I hear him talk about his faith. I used to listen just for Ray's voice alone, and he brought his son onto his podcast, and I wasn't so crazy about it for the first 1 or 2 episodes, but then all of a sudden, I got to see a different side of my friend Ray, and Sean, his son, brought out a more relaxed Ray Edwards, a Ray Edwards that jokes around a lot, and sometimes says things in a business podcast that you would think, oh my gosh, did Ray just say that and he not edit that out? That is so awesome. I love that. And I've grown even more fond of Ray and now his son, Sean Edwards, as well. And I listen to their podcast not because of all the valuable takeaways and how it makes my business better. Although I'm sure even subconsciously there are things that I do pull away from there. And sometimes very consciously and not even what was intended. But what I mostly take away from the Ray Edwards podcast, just a weekly dose of encouragement. It's almost as it's an injection of positivity. It's an injection of just it's like a vitamin B or vitamin 12 shot. It's like, wow, that is awesome. And I come away with so much. And the other thing is my friend Dan Miller, 48 Days to the Work You Love. It's another podcast I listen to every single week. And I don't listen to him because I need help with some career advice right now. And, how do I find a new job and find new opportunities and all of these things. Although I find value in listening to some of those things because, well, I'm working with people who struggle with a lot of those things. And it's, hearing him give advice is sometimes gives me valuable ways of processing things that I wouldn't have thought of otherwise, and I'm able to pass on advice and say, what my friend Dan Miller said. But you know what I listen to Dan Miller for? I listen to him for his mindset. I do. I listen to him for his calm voice, his confidence. I listen to him because of his just attitude of, you know what, everything is good. And I love one of his philosophies in life. It's like, listen, you say you got a problem. I say we've got an opportunity for a solution. I mean, it's just those kind of things. And that's not fake stuff. I've been around my friend Dan for a long time, and I've been involved with him in personal situations and for lengthy periods of time on several cruises even. And I tell you what, he's the real deal. None of that's fake. And same thing with Father Roderick, same thing with Ray Edwards and these other folks. These are real people. These are authentic people. They're genuine people. And I love those people. And I listen to their shows not because of the valuable takeaways. I listen to them because they are a familiar voice on the journey. And here's the other thing. Being an entrepreneur, I don't go to the office every day. I don't have coworkers that sit in cubicles or even work across the hallway in a different office, adjacent to mine. I don't have water cooler conversations. I don't have a team of people to go out to lunch with. I do have the blessing of going out to lunch with my wife quite often, which is awesome. I do have the opportunity sometimes when my kids are not in school to enjoy a lunch with them. I have blessings that go, trust me, I'm not saying anything to complain, but there are sometimes that being an entrepreneur, just working by yourself in an office alone all day long, it's lonely. It's lonely. Now, don't get me wrong. I love it that it's lonely because I am very much an introvert and I like to be alone. And being around a lot of people for lengthy periods of time, it's not my favorite thing on earth to do. Hence, another addition to, spending a lot of time with a lot of people in groups and parties over Christmas time and Thanksgiving. But that just adds on to the things we talked about earlier. But yeah, it's lonely. And so what I find is that as an entrepreneur, I listen to these guys because they're out there struggling to make it happen as well. And I don't even know if I should even say the word they're struggling to make it happen. Although this, sometimes it is a struggle. But they're working. They're moving forward. They're getting through stuff as well. The one thing I know about these guys that I talk about, they have their obstacles. They've overcome great things. They've got even greater things to overcome in the future. But the one thing that remains consistent is that their voice is there. They're there. And by the way, there's been a couple of those people, not Ray Edwards. Ray Edwards has been there every single week without fail. Dan Miller has been there every single week without fail. But what I can tell you is that there are some people that I've listened to and I've come to rely on hearing their voice. And there are some times when they go 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks without an episode. And it's like something's missing from my life. And so, I and by the way, there are times when I've had one particular podcaster, quote unquote, phone it in, just phone it in. I've got to record 8 of these because I'm going to be gone for the next month. And so, you know what? I listen to those too. I don't enjoy them as much. Don't get me wrong. They're the pre-recorded episodes where, they get on the podcast and say, hey, this is me and I'm recording another edition of my pre-recorded show. I'm actually, sitting here the same place I was about 5 minutes ago. But for you, if you're listening to these as they come out, it was last week. This is where I might be. This is where I'm technically probably at right now on this journey or trip that I'm on. And you know what? I listen to those episodes and they're not as real. They're not as authentic. They don't have the same feeling to me. They're not real time. But at the same, and by the way, those are very much episodes from these people that I'm talking about. Those are very much episodes that are literally published simply for the purpose of having consistency for consistency's sake. And you know what? No, they're not the greatest episodes, but I still listen to them, and I'm thankful that the voice is there. I am. I know that voice isn't living in real time with me, that it was recorded a while ago, but the voice is still there. And they took the time to actually record that to keep me company on my journey. And yeah, every time they're trying to fulfill, there's always an attempt to perform and to add value, to put some rich content together. But, sometimes it's hit, sometimes it's missed. But one thing's for sure, the people that I listen to, the podcasts that I subscribe to, I'm thankful that they're consistent. And sometimes I'm even okay and even happy that they're consistent for consistency's sake. So anyway, that was just a little thought. Anyway, so obviously I've been consistent with this podcast in spite of this past month. Another thing is I've been working on my A to Z promotion. My 28th session of podcasting A to Z is going to start. It's actually this coming Monday, January 2nd. So if you're listening to this in time, I still have a few spots open. And I can tell you right now, my history has always been I do an A to Z in January. I do this every year. And as soon as I have the deadline, hey, I tell my students, I'm going to be here, I'm going to answer your questions Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern time. And I have a lot of students and they have a lot of questions, and it pulls me right out of whatever I experience in that, late November, early in December, that funk that I get into. It pulls me right out of it. By the end of January, the days are starting to get longer. And you know what? There is something about a new year as well. So I'm super excited about my next session of podcasting A to Z starting. Put some deadlines on me. I know some people say you can't really thrive under pressure. I actually find that I thrive with deadlines. How about that? I do. When I make a commitment and then I have to live up to it, I thrive with that. It causes me to take action. It puts me into a whole different mindset. And yeah, sometimes I need that. And I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, if you are thinking about launching a podcast and would like to have me as your coach for 4 weeks, I would love to help you by answering every single question. And by the way, a couple people have been asking me lately, I've been thinking about taking your course. I'm just not sure what what topic I should do, what niche should I focus on. And my friends, this is one of the reasons why up to this point, I've never offered Podcasting A to Z as a self-study course. It's the reason why is because I want to be your coach, helping you find that message. And by the way, there are some stories I could share with you that would encourage you and inspire you to make a decision and move forward with boldness and confidence. And yeah, so if you're not even sure, you just know for a fact you've been wanting to do a podcast and you just put it off because I can't make that decision of which topic. Well, go ahead and sign up. Let's work together. I'll get you through that. And by the way, if you have an existing podcast, this podcast course is marketed mostly to people who are looking to launch a podcast. But the thing is you do have me as your personal coach for 4 weeks. And I will personally work with you at whatever level you are. Anything you know about me and my experience and what I have to offer, you have the ability to ask me an unlimited number of questions for 4 full weeks with the promise that I will respond personally from me to you thoroughly with every question you ask me for 4 weeks. Head over to podcastingatoz.com if you want to join me for this 28th session, which starts this coming Monday, January 2nd. Let's work together during this first 4 weeks of this brand new, beautiful year, 2017, that we are going to rock. All right. What else is on here? Speaking of goals, by the way, I have not yet set my 2017 goals. Do you want to know when I'll probably get around to setting those? Normally, by the way, I would have those by this time, but I don't this year. I will have my goals written down by 11:30 a.m. this Wednesday. And the reason why is because that's when my mastermind group meets, and we have allotted Wednesday, January 4th, for us to share what our 2017 goals are with each other. It's just something that we do each year. And in fact, I have gone through, one of the things that we do is we share them in our group, and we actually write them down in a document. And then this year, we did a thing where we asked each other to go through our goals that we had shared with one another and tell us, how did you do? Did you accomplish the goal? Did you not accomplish the goal? Give us some details. So I thought that I'll share this with you real quickly. So one of the things that, and by the way, all of these were shared in January. So these are the goals that I wrote down in January. And so obviously throughout the year, priorities can shift and change, but specifically, I'm going to share with you the goals that I wrote down in a text document and shared with my mastermind group. The one thing I told them is that I wanted to prayer journal daily. So I wrote, this is my update, and I'm going to just read these to you. I did not prayer journal daily. I kept it up for a few weeks out of the year, but I fell off. I did start a gratitude journal, though over time I lost my focus on this as well. I will be reevaluating my priorities in this area for 2017 and beyond. So this is something that I'm trying to decide, where does this fit in my list of priorities, and I believe it needs to be pretty close to the top. I believe that at the very least, I need to be writing, "Dear God, today I'm thankful for," and just write down at least a couple of things that I know that are just huge blessings, because every day is filled with so many blessings that sometimes I just take for granted if I don't think about them. And so that's something that will probably show up on Wednesday morning when I actually review this to see what's going to actually make it into my 2017 goals. But my mild success during seasons is what I would say for that one. All right, so here's the next two, and they're combined. I will continue to focus on my health and physical fitness as my number one priority in life. I will continue to work out 6 days a week, every week for the rest of my life. And I am happy to report this is a 100% success. This is certainly one of the greatest achievements for me in 2016. I was able to stay on top of my health and fitness goal in light of being fully engaged with my business. So I moved the needle forward in so many different areas of my business, tackled some big projects that have been put off for years, and yet still was able to maintain such a high level of commitment to my health and fitness, and I'm excited about that. The next goal that I shared with them, I will continue to work on my role as husband and father as a priority over my business pursuits, date nights with Stephanie and date nights with each of my children. And I wrote that this was a huge success as well, another major accomplishment for me. And I've really taken this area of my life to a whole new level, and I look forward to just the opportunities that will come in 2017 to keep that area of my life as a major priority above all of these things that I do in my business. All right, the next one is I wanted to increase the profit, not the sales, but actually the profit from equipment sales to $10,000 per month by April 1st, 2016. I wrote that I did not achieve this goal. My equipment sales remained very much the same as they had been, which is not bad, which is good. I mean, my equipment sales been very good, but still very steady. However, I did not do any of the things that I know would certainly help me towards achieving this goal. The reason is that other priorities came up and pushed this goal further down the list, and we'll get to that later. The next one here is, and it looks like there are two combined together here. It says, I want to begin to uncover my new professional identity for the next season of my career. I want to find ways to build a bridge from my existing professional identity to my new professional identity without impacting my income. And I just simply wrote, I consider this to be a success. In a way, I found that I was already achieving this without knowing it. This is an ongoing journey, and I'm excited about the direction that I'm heading. And basically, this all goes back to what I shared last week. So I'm not going to rehash that, but I pretty much realized that Podcast Answer Man is my professional identity, and it actually is the onboarding, if you will, to all the other things that I have to offer. And I think that while other people knew this very well already, I finally accepted the fact that people that I'm far more than just a podcast answer guy. That that other people recognize that I have more to offer, and it's been what's appealing to them above and way even beyond the technical things related to podcasting. So not really, it's kind of a goal that I no longer actually see as really a goal. I want to, in fact, instead I would say to fully embrace my identity as the podcast answer man in the world, and to fully embrace it and to accomplish whatever it is that can be accomplished. I don't have it written down. Maybe on Wednesday I'll have it. I'm not even going to try anymore. Anyway, the next one here, I want to explore the move from teacher/instructor to facilitator/coach. And this is what I wrote. I discovered that I do not want to move away from the teacher/instructor role. However, I did take massive steps towards expanding my role as a facilitator and coach. I've had some awesome coaching and mentoring clients that I've worked with in 2016, and several have renewed into 2017. So I don't know why I was thinking that I wanted to get out of the teacher/instructor role, but yeah, that I've definitely discovered that I do not want that. I love to teach, and it's one of the things that I believe is a gift that God's given me, and one I want to continue to make use of to help and serve people, because it is one of the ways that I serve people, by teaching them the things that I know based upon my experience and the things that I'm learning, and how I see how valuable that's been in people's lives. So I want to continue that. But I do want to, and I have moved more into some facilitator and coaching rules, and I love that. All right, so next one. This is long. It says here, I want to create profitable products and services that allow me to help people in the following ways. I want to help others become more effective in growing their startup business from my experiences and the access to resources that I have available to me. Helping people expand their mindset of what is possible, and that moves them towards becoming all they were created to be. I want to encourage and motivate others to get physically fit and healthy. And for me, I believe this is 100% success. I haven't necessarily turned this into quote unquote profitable products that are like digital products or courses or stuff like that, but I have done this through coaching and through the content that I've been creating. And I see opportunities for those products to come in the future. So looking forward to that. All right. So the next one is I want to facilitate a paid mastermind group that has up to 10 members who each pay $1,000 per person. Now, I don't think I've ever publicly said that here in the podcast. Maybe I did. I don't know. Anyway, I did not achieve this goal. I was super excited about it a few times. However, I never took action to work out all the details and start promoting it. My main concern at this time is finding the right people that would be a good fit for such a group. This is still a project that I'm considering for the future. So this is one where I kind of started to get excited about it a couple times, but when it came down to saying, okay, who would I invite to this? In my heart, I wasn't feeling it yet. And so that's been tabled. All right. The next one is let's see here. I want to find a profitable way to offer brainstorming coaching calls, not related to podcasting, focused on business ideas, mindset, goal setting, etc. And I did this. So basically, the idea is that I wanted to have paid coaching calls, not related to podcasting, focused on business ideas, mindset, goal setting, etc. And I did this. So basically, the idea is that I wanted to have paid coaching calls, not related to podcasting, focused on business ideas, mindset, goal setting, etc. And I did this. So basically, the idea is that I wanted to have with people who weren't just like, how do I get this equipment hooked up? How do I set up this RSS feed? How do I grow my audience? How do I do? I wanted to talk to people about their goals and their dreams and how to, what are some next steps, brainstorm some ideas of things. And I offered that, and not just for I do have a handful of ongoing twice a month calls, coaching calls, mentoring calls with people. But when I first announced this, I made an offer. I think it was at the time I said I'll do a one-off coaching / mentoring call. As long as it's not related to podcasting, we'll talk about anything else you want. And specifically, I want to help you brainstorm some ideas of next steps that you need to take in your life. If you're struggling with your mindset of what's possible, let's talk about that. Let's talk about some goals that you have and how to achieve them, and some actions you can take. And I offered that one-off calls, and I think I had like 17 people take me up on it, and it was incredible. In fact, I still get emails consistently, ongoing, with people telling me their milestones that they're reaching, and how they would never have taken the action that they have taken had it not been for a single 1 hour call with me. And it's like, wow, that was incredible. All right, so fun stuff. Then the next one is I want to host more one-day business mastermind events, and I also want to host more in-person workshops in my own studio space. And this is something that I did not offer. I didn't do any live events in 2016. This is mainly due to a significant shift in priorities, but live events for me is still on the roadmap for the future. All right. So I ended my update to my group by saying this: while there are a few goals that were not accomplished in 2016, there are several things that became goals throughout 2016 after this original list was created. And here's what I wrote. I set up and configured my new Kajabi account. I figured out the Stripe payment system and implemented it for both New Kajabi and FreshBooks. I moved my digital products into Kajabi using its new built-in store instead of the old eJunkie shopping cart system I had set up. I researched support ticket systems and implemented Help Scout, which I hope to talk about in the future episode of this podcast. Let's see here. I figured out the Zapier tool and have set up several automations that take a lot of what I'm doing in my business to a whole new level. I made the switch from Aweber to ConvertKit, created a weekly podcast development newsletter, and have some pretty awesome automation that is helping me learn amazing things about my community. And then the last one I have here, I attended the Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within event with Stephanie, which has had a profound impact on my life personally and professionally. So those are the goals that I came up with last January, shared with the group, and that's the updates on them. Again, have not yet set the goals for 2017. I'll have those by Wednesday morning. Alrighty. Oh, and you know what? We're going to wrap things up here shortly, but one other random thing that I'd share with you here this week, and that is I have 2 gadgets that I'm excited about in 2017. One of them I've already received, and I don't know how excited I should be about them, but I ordered a pair of Snapchat spectacles off of eBay. I got tired of waiting for them to become more available. I was in New York City where I could have purchased these things from a vending machine there, but back then, you had to wait in a line for many hours, and that is not how I wanted to spend my time in New York City with my family. So I chose not to do that. But I think if you get them from a vending machine wherever they're available, they're I think $139 or $130, something like that. Anyway, I ended up paying like just over $200. So I paid a premium, but I did order a pair off of eBay and had them shipped. I got the black ones. They have the little yellow ring around the camera and the status light, but it's black on black, and they're pretty cool. They look cheesy as far as on me. I'm not some hipster guy, but they don't look terrible. In fact, the one thing I will say is that there's this indicator light that if you're recording, it's got this spinning little light that lights up really bright. So if you're walking around, and people look at your glasses with the funny yellow circles on it, it's very clear. Even if people don't even know about Snapchat spectacles, you might get the impression that there might be a hidden camera in those sunglasses. And then when you got the status indicator, it's basically saying, hello, I'm recording you. And I don't like that. So one of the things that I ended up buying on eBay also, and I think it was like $8, they have these blackout stickers. They actually have a solid black blackout sticker, which would completely make it impossible for you to see the indicator light. The only thing is I could care less about seeing, anybody seeing that it's recording. But the thing is for you to be able to check the battery level of the glasses, then you actually have to, you tap on it and that indicator will show you how full your battery is. Now, what I will say is, but they also have another sticker that's called, it's kind of like a grade, a smoke is what they call it. And so it makes it much, much darker, but you can still kind of see through it. I ordered both of them because I wanted to try the smoke first and see if I can still see the battery indicator, but see if it kind of, it's not quite visible that it's got the spinning indicator that shows that it's recording. The thing is, I'm not trying to go into any kind of place where it's not acceptable to be recording, I'd go out in public a lot and I'd be holding my phone and doing Snapchat, right? I wouldn't Snapchat with my glasses any place different than I would with my phone. The thing is with my phone, it's somewhat acceptable, but with a pair of glasses that has the spinning indicator, it just draws attention, and so I don't like that. What I do like about Snapchat the spectacles is that it does give you a whole different perspective. It's got a really wide angle lens, and the other cool thing about it is that there's this whole argument a long time ago about should I do vertical or horizontal video. Well, if you actually are watching a video snap from somebody who has spectacles, what happens is you watching the snap, you can turn the phone any direction, and because the actual camera records in a circle, it has this weird effect that it's always I don't know how to explain it. It's almost that it's like they're actually seeing into a window into another world, and they can actually turn their phone and as if they were actually there themselves. You have to kind of see it to see what I'm talking about, but it's really cool. I actually follow a couple people who have some Snapchat spectacles, and I find myself intrigued by their snaps more than others. And, by the way, just an update, I am using Snapchat a whole lot less, partly because, well, I told you in the last couple weeks, I've been pretty much antisocial, which is kind of odd for me, but it's not for this time of year. I just kind of wanted to be a little bit of a recluse and not post too much on social media. That'll be changing, I'm sure, within the next couple weeks. But I haven't. But even still, I don't follow nearly as many people. That was getting overwhelming, and trying to connect with a smaller number of people and make deeper connections is what I've been doing in Snapchat, and not necessarily doing it to quote unquote grow an audience, but to be on to share my life. And be top of mind for the people who choose to follow me there. And if you are on Snapchat and you're not following me, you can. My username is Cliff EOTC. Stands for Cliff Encouraging Others Through Content. Or if you know the deeper Cliff Ravenscraft, it might even mean Cliff Encouraging Others Through Christ. So there you go. Cliff EOTC on Snapchat. So that's one gadget. Now one thing I'm really excited about is by the way, I'm also thinking about maybe getting some black fingernail polish to get rid of those yellow circles that clearly say, "Hey, look at me! I'm a camera right here." I think if I can get rid of the yellow circles and I use the blackout sticker for the indicator, then all of a sudden they just look like sunglasses, and still don't look like the kind of sunglasses I would probably wear. But hey, whatever. But I'm looking forward to when it's springtime and I can go out riding on my bike. Oh my gosh, this is going to be perfect. This will be better than GoPro. So I am looking forward to sharing some bike rides once I can get out there with this with the spectacles and who knows, maybe going some walks and some other interesting places. So yeah, Snapchat spectacles. I'm glad I have them. I'm looking forward to putting them to use in 2017. And the other thing I don't have yet, but I am super excited about getting, and that is the Apple AirPods. I ordered them the very first day that they went on sale. Unfortunately, I did not know that they went on sale until late that day, so I have not got mine yet. They're supposed to be here either on or by January 12th, and I'm so excited about them. If you haven't seen them, they're just like the Apple EarPods that Apple made. They used to have Apple earbuds, but the EarPods are a little bit ergonomic, fitting in your ear in a certain way. And I love them, by the way, the Apple EarPods. I don't use them at all anymore, simply because I'm completely wireless. I don't like wires. So I actually have a wireless headset that I used while I'm bike riding, is why I originally got these. But they're Plantronics PT Fit, I think is what they're, Plantronics PT Fit wireless headphones. And they're Bluetooth. They work great. They sound as good as anything's going to sound. And they last for, a couple hours, no problem at all. And I have two of them because when I go on 100-mile bike rides, it usually one goes dead and I have to swap out for the other one. But anyway, these headphones have been doing just well for me, and I thought that that's all I need until I heard about the Apple AirPods. Now, the Apple AirPods are just like the AirPods are just like the EarPods from Apple, except they don't have wires. Now, I told you I have wireless, right? But this Plantronics Bluetooth headset that I have, they have the speakers that go into your ears on both sides, but then they have this rubber piece that connects the two. So it's a relatively thin piece of rubber, but it's still this rubber that dangles behind the back of your head. Now, when I'm sitting up, walking around, riding my bike, never is that a problem, ever. However, there is one use for this that is definitely going to be a dream come true, and why I'm so excited about the AirPods. And that is going to sleep at night. I love to listen to things as I'm going to sleep. Sometimes I'll turn on Leo Laporte. I will turn on The Tech Guy, not because I have any interest in him answering any question for any person who calls in from his radio show. But again, Leo Laporte for me has been a constant voice and just somebody I love hearing his voice for the past 10 years. And so I do listen to This Week in Tech and Mac Break Weekly simply for the content, but also for his voice as well. I find that content engaging and interesting. But The Tech Guy, I love to listen to Leo just put me to sleep at night. Or sometimes I'll listen to a playlist on Apple Music, or sometimes I might even put on an audiobook and say, hey, set the sleep timer for 15 minutes. And I'll keep extending that until I fall asleep. And then the next morning when I want to pick up where I left off in the thing, it had stopped right where it ended. But then I usually go back, 10, 15 minutes to where I remember actually being conscious to hear that part of the story. But I listen to a lot of stuff when I'm going to bed at night. But these are the things that my wife is not interested in listening to. Trust me, my wife does not want to hear Leo Laporte. But I do. And sometimes I would, stick my phone underneath my pillow where the speaker just from the iPhone is sticking out from the pillow just a little bit, and I kind of put my ear over it, and that works with it, the volume turned down real low. But, hey, I've got an iPhone. I know it's not a Galaxy, Note 7, but still, it's not all that safe, I think, to have an electronic device with a lithium-ion battery plugged into a charger right underneath your head at night. And so while I've done it a couple times, it's always something that I've never felt good about. I purchased a long time ago these special headphones that are on a headband, and they're like supposedly like zero profile headphones where the speaker is pretty much flat, and it's a headband, and you put it around your ears, and you can actually lay down on your side, and it's not supposed to hurt your ear. Yeah, right, whatever. There's two problems with that pair of headphones. Number one, they're not as low profile speakers as you might imagine. They actually do hurt my earlobes when I'm laying on my side. And number two, they're wired. So they're not wireless. And so I hate that. And then, of course, I actually do go to bed at night sometimes with my Plantronics PT Fit. Now, what I'll do is, obviously you can't, I sleep on my side. Not that you need to know that, but I like to sleep on my side a lot. I flop around all over. I'm on my back, my stomach, both sides. I'm all over the bed. I'm a Van de Kamp's fish. If anybody actually is old enough to remember those commercials. But anyway, yeah. So I have this Plantronics. Now, if I'm sleeping on my side and laying down on my side and I want to listen to something, what I'll do is I'll have one ear on the pillow, and then I take the earbud from the Plantronics PT Fit and put that in to, let's just say I'm laying on my right. I put the other one in my left ear, and then I just leave the rubber piece that usually goes behind your head all the way over to the other earpiece. I just leave it dangling off my shoulder. And then, of course, when I want to switch over to the other side, then I'll pull it out and I'll put it in the other ear and leave the other one dangling. But still, it's just that wire. And of course, why not just lay on your back and have both ears in? I've tried that. But then, even though it's a pretty low profile piece of rubber that connects the two earpieces, it's still, when you lay back and you've got both earbuds in, it actually, the rubber piece pushes those earpieces forward. And so they want to push out of your ear, and they're not comfortable. They're not sitting in there just right because this rubber piece is trying to actually push it because you're laying on it. So I know it's frustrating, right? Oh, and so anyway, the Apple AirPods, the cool thing, there are a couple cool things. Number one, they're wireless. They have no wires. You can use one at a time. And the cool thing is if you're only using one of them, it knows it and actually switches the stereo audio to mono so that you don't miss anything. And there are some people out there, unfortunately, they don't know to put your voice in both ears if you have a stereo track. Sometimes you're listening to music, and sometimes that music might actually only have audio in the left channel or right channel for certain things. So it turns so if you're only using one of the AirPods, you get mono in it. And of course, if you put the other one in, it automatically switches to stereo, which is cool. The case is a charging case. It supposedly can charge it, I think, up to 4 times, I believe. And it's got microphones built into each of them. And there's so many different cool things about it. But the one thing that I'm just excited about is going to bed at night, knowing that I can actually fall asleep with one ear on the pillow. And then I just know what I know about me is that, if I want to roll over, I will wake up enough to pull that out of my ear and just set it on my nightstand. And so, yeah, Apple AirPods. I'm super excited about them. I'm dreaming of them to come in. I wish they would come in soon. Like my friend Wayne Henderson, his has already showed up, and his was originally supposed to be there the 12th as well. And so I'm jealous of Wayne Henderson. Anyway, my friends, that's going to wrap it up for 2016 here on the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. This is one of those episodes that, quite frankly, is here consistently for you for consistency's sake. It is the fulfillment of a promise of 1 year of having a podcast episode every Friday by 5 a.m. It is now 12:33 in the morning, and I'm wrapping this thing up. Is this my best episode of the year? Absolutely not. Does it meet my standard? I believe it does. And I'm hoping that there has been something in this episode that was worthwhile for you. And if I've just been a voice to accompany you on your journey through life, I'm glad for that as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have found any value in this content and you want to let me know about it, you can head over to podcastanswerman.com/482 and leave me a comment. If it's been more than 4 weeks and the comment section is closed, you can always email me, cliff@podcastanswerman.com. Again, thank you so much. And until next year, I encourage you to take everything you do to the next level. Oh, and register for Podcasting A to Z. Let's work together for the first 4 weeks of this new year. Talk to you then. Bye-bye.
Podcast Answer Man.